Okay, we're going to cook my lamb tagine, a great example of how you can throw some ingredients into the pan and cook them for 2.5 hours and the end result will be absolutely fantastic. Hopefully you've got your pan on the hob, just turned it on a high heat with a nice glug of oil in there, and we can get on and add in the onions. Just add those to the pan. And all we're going to do is just cook these very briefly, just to cook out the raw flavour of the onions. Give it a little stir around. And then whilst the onions are just cooking gently, we can season the lamb. So just a good generous pinch of salt and pepper, just all over. Go, just give the onions a little stir again, and then all it is really now is a case of just adding the ingredients one after the other. There we go. So we can now add in the lamb. And just move it around the pan a little, just to make it look like you're cooking. You don't have to do anything too much with it here. We're not trying to really brown it because it's going in the oven for 2.5 hours, and after 2.5 hours the lamb won't really care whether you've seared it or not to start off with. So just move it around the pan a little. We're just going to start it cooking and keep the pan nice and hot. So obviously when you add a big lump of meat like that into a pan, it'll cool down the temperature of the pan. Right, now we can add in the 2 tins of chopped tomatoes. We'll give that a little stir. There we go. It's gone a little bit quieter again, which is always good. Now we can add in the spices. So with the paprika, we want 1 teaspoon of paprika. I'm just using the ½ teaspoon measure. 1 teaspoon of paprika, and then ½ teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And that will just give it just a little bit of heat. Just enough that you'll know that we've added some heat to it, but not enough to put you off if you don't like hot things. So just giving that a nice stir in. Then we can add in the apricots. Give them a nice stir. And the sultanas. And again, just give it a nice stir. There we go. And then lastly, all we want to do is just add in some stock, because this is probably the finished consistency that you'll look for. But because it's going to go in the oven for 2.5 hours, it'll probably reduce a little. So we're going to add in just enough stock just to loosen it. So you're probably looking at, I've added in 150 millilitres. Depending on how liquidy your chopped tomatoes are, you might need a little bit more or a little bit less. But there we go. If you can see how the consistency of that mine is, that's how yours should be. Okay. Now the easy bit, all we need to do is pop the lid on. There we go, so just pop the lid on and then pop that in your oven for 2.5 hours. But if you carry on watching, you'll see what mine looks like after 2.5 hours when I take it out. Okay, it's been 2.5 hours and I've just taken mine out of the oven. Hopefully yours is looking something like this. Everything has reduced and gone absolutely fantastic. the lamb will be melt in your mouth, succulent. So what I suggest now is just put on your rice now, and by the time that your rice is ready, the lamb and everything will have cooled enough to be at perfect eating temperature. But that's it done, and I hope that you enjoy it.